Welcome back. I just want to reiterate that breaking news, and that was that Gabriel Jesus has suffered a rupture to his ACL. We know what happens with ACL injuries. It looks like he is going to be out for at least the rest of the season. I mean, James, we spoke about it and we touched on it a little bit, but for Gabriel Jesus to have got back in the Arsenal side, to be playing well, scoring goals, timing is everything in football, and this just feels like such bad timing, not just for the player, but for the club as well. Yeah,
he looks in such brilliant form in those games against Crystal Palace. He looked like he could be that short-term fix for Arsenal. I think when Arsenal signed Zinchenko and Jesus 2.5 years ago now, it felt they could be the missing pieces in the jigsaw, and that title-winning experience would take Arsenal to the next level. Unfortunately, we've not seen that, but in recent weeks we have seen Jesus return to the sort of player that Arsenal thought they'd sign. But I think when you look at the last two matches, Arsenal failed to score from 23 attempts against Newcastle last week, 26 shots of goal ahead against Manchester United at the weekend. So when Jesus and Havertz have been in the team, they've not been scoring those chances. Arsenal do need a proven goal scorer now. I think they showed 2 seasons ago. We had Ødegaard, we had Martinelli and Saka all overperforming in terms of their XG, and they all each scored between 10 and 15 goals, and that got Arsenal so close to winning the title. But Martinelli and Ødegaard haven't shown that level of performance from an attacking point of view for the last 18 months when it comes to Martinelli. Ødegaard has been slightly different. He's sometimes laying on the assist before the assist. But I think they need somebody who's going to bury those chances now. It's simple as that. Somebody who scores 20 goals a season. The difficulty in January is there's not many of those around, and those that are around, it's going to cost a serious amount of money. Of course, Arsenal have lost Edu. They've got somebody acting as their sporting director now. They're recruiting for the sporting director. So that's playing a part as well. Clearly, Arsenal fans will feel that perhaps we've invested too heavily in goalkeepers, defenders and defensively minded midfielders rather than focusing on the attack, because ultimately it's been those same players who have been asked to go again the last 3 years for Arsenal.
Obviously with Saka's injury as well, Dan, how much pressure is now on that man Kai Havertz? Because it does feel like he's their only option now, and he's their only man that they can rely on sort of in that number 9.
Yeah, I mean, he's the only recognised number 9.
And
you could argue he's not number 9, couldn't you? So it's a difficult situation for him, a lot of pressure on his shoulders, a lot of pressure on Arteta and Arsenal now as well. You just wonder, what kind of striker is it that Arsenal are looking for? I wrote a list earlier of players that have either moved in the summer or could have moved in the summer. So Osimhen, Toney, John Duran, Solanke, Guirassy. You know, what Arsenal weren't in for any of those. Obviously there was murmurs with Toney at times, but Arsenal weren't ever in for any of those strikers. What profile of striker is it that Arsenal are looking for? Because I genuinely do believe that if the right striker was out there and had been available in the last 2 or 3 windows, I think Arsenal would have backed Arteta and they'd have gone and got them. This is just my own personal feeling. I think Arteta hasn't found that striker available or that's gettable that he thinks suits the way Arsenal play. And you can talk about the way Arsenal have changed this season, and maybe they're a bit slower, maybe they're a bit more predictable. But they've turned themselves into an elite team over the last few seasons, which then makes it harder to take that next step and sign that right centre forward. But I just wondered, who is that forward? Is it Isak, who obviously isn't available? Who is that striker that Arsenal?
It's got to be Isak, hasn't it? But you look in this window, it would cost possibly as much as £150 million. Would Newcastle even let him go if a bid over £100 million came in this window? We know Newcastle have battled with PSR constraints, but in the form they're in right now, the form Isak's in right now, they're not going to let him go in this window. Potentially in the summer, as they look to try and comply with the rules once again. We know the rules are going to change next season. But he's the man Arsenal need. They need somebody who's going to guarantee you 20 goals a season. He's so handy linking up play as well. He's such a brilliantly gifted player. Arsenal have tried loads of different ways of trying to score goals over the course of the last few seasons. At times it's worked. But at the moment, with Saka missing, you really do see how frail this side is from an attacking point of view. It feels like we're almost relying on the set pieces now for Arsenal to score those goals. And when they're not scoring from set pieces, from open play, you are struggling a little bit, because even when they're getting the chances, they don't have that man there that's burying them.
Do you feel like Arsenal are going to panic? They didn't panic in the summer when everyone said they needed a striker and they didn't get one. Then the summer when this sort of desperation, I should say, has probably gone up a little bit more with that injury. But do you see Arteta panicking at all?
No, I think they've been pretty sensible in terms of their spending over the last couple of years. And look, I think everyone loves a hot take, don't they, at the moment? But I think we just need to have a little step back and look at the realism of the situation. I mean, at the start of the season, Kai Havertz was the second coming. Do you know what I mean? And now it's been almost laid bare in a game in the FA Cup that the story is completely the opposite. So Arsenal are capable of scoring goals. They have had a bit of a rough patch, but they weren't that far away from Manchester City last season, 6 points. And I think everyone's been a little bit surprised at the uptick in Liverpool. I don't think anybody really expected them to be this good at this point in the season. So, do I think we just need to take a step back and have a bit of realism? Probably.